let's go to the run animation and add it to our model. We have to do the same kinds of things we did before. So I'll select it here in the animations, which are in my assets. I'll select run in the inspector. I'll choose rig instead of generic humanoid. In the animation, I'll rename it here in a sec, but I also want to look at loop time and make sure that it's not checked. The reason for that is when the run animation is done, unless it's being told to continue running, it should go back to idle. So I don't want this to loop unless it's being refreshed every time, right? They're being told every time to continue to run. So I want to make sure that's not checked. And then let's change the name. And we'll call this run. Again, I'll use the same capital letters I have down here. And I should be able to apply it. And did it change the name? No, so I don't know what the deal is. Let's try it again, run. And now apply will be grayed out, but I like loop time and then uncheck loop time and apply. And so this time it will have worked. I don't know what I'm doing wrong to make it have to do that twice. Maybe I should check and uncheck this to begin with. Anyway, there's my run animation, and if I roll down the options here, I can see run is now the name of the animation here inside the package, and I'll say Control D to duplicate. I can roll this up again, and now run is outside the package. A duplicate of the run animations outside the package. I'm going to click on the animator, and there's my idle animation there. So I'll just grab the run animation and drag it and drop it in here. So what we have is on entry into the scene, a transition to run. Now I want a transition from run, transitions to idle. On entry, it transitions to idle. And now I want is a transition from idle to run. And then I'll need the transition back from run to idle, because when I'm done running, I'll have to go back to idle. So that is right click and make transition, and then I don't have to click and hold. I can just move my mouse around and connect with this little arrow from idle to run. And then I'll right click on run, make transition, and so now I have a transition back to idle. These have conditions, these transitions, and if I look over if I select one, I can look over here in the inspector and say that it has an exit time. That's not what I want. Exit time means as soon as the idle is done, it should go to run. But for the moment, I can at least use that to test that this is working. So I'll leave it for now. But that's, in general, I want the idle to run as many times as it needs to until I tell the character to go to the run animation. This says let the idle run once, and then we'll go to run. And then we'll look at the transition back to idle. And this also has an exit time. So I'll leave both of those checked and hit play. And what I should see is the character idling and then running. There we go. You may recall I stretched out the idle a little bit when I was downloading the idle. End points and beginning points I moved slightly. I noticed a couple of weird things here. This character goes from idle to run and seems to be rotating slightly every time. Do you see that? She's rotating clockwise. She'll end up facing 12 o'clock or do directly away from the camera. So that's something I might want to fix. But at this point, what I want is now a condition under which she'll change from idling to running that's different from has exit time. So again, I'll click the animator here, and the idle to run, I'll get rid of this has exit time. When I do that, I get a little warning. This isn't a error message. The yellow is a warning. Transition needs at least one condition or an exit time to be valid, otherwise it will be ignored. So this transition will be ignored unless can I scroll down, or is that it? Unless I create a condition. See, it says it needs a condition, and here our condition says the list is empty. But I can create a plus sign here, or click the plus sign and create a new condition. But let's do something first. We'll give a parameter over here in the animator. So there's the animator. These are the parameters. These are layers, but I'm not going to use those for now. These are parameters. If I click this plus sign, I can create a parameter, and I want a Boolean. A Boolean is a logical operator that's either true or false. There are other kinds of Booleans, but those are the ones we care about. So I want a Boolean, not a trigger. I'll use a trigger later to make an attack, a kick or a punch. But Boolean, I just want to set it to true or false. When I set it to true, the character will move from idle to a transition from idle to run. And when I set it to false, the character will transition from run to idle. Does that make sense? So here I'm doing a transition here. I guess I don't have to have that selected. I need a parameter. These parameters could be used anywhere. So I'll create a parameter. I'll make it a Boolean. Notice that there's a square, a checkbox here. Later we'll see round ones for triggers. So that helps you know what this is. It is a Boolean. And I'll just click in here and change the name to run. Actually, yeah, I'll use the capital letter. And so that is a Boolean now. It's either true or false. So here, in this transition, where it says list is empty, if the conditions, it tells me down here I need a condition, I'll click this plus sign and say run is true. So when run is true, we'll transition from idle to run. And then this one, from run back to idle, it needs a transition as well. A condition. There is no condition, so I'll click the plus sign. When run is true, well, that's what I want here. So this one I want when run is false. So when run, the Boolean conditional is determined to be true, the character will go from idle to run, and when it is determined to be false, the character will go from run to idle. And I want to be able to control that with keystrokes. I can write a little bit of code that just lets me choose a key, my laptop, a key press. But I'm going to stop with this process for just a moment and add some things to my character in the scene. So here's my scene again. If I click on the character, I can see there's a transform, there's an animator. It shows human character dummy in the animator. I can roll that up. And down here it says add component. I want to add some components to this character. So when I hit add component, there's a kind of search bar here, and I want a character controller. Character controller. I just start writing the word control, and here it shows character controller. And you see this greenish kind of lozenge. This is known as a capsule. It shows the character's like not quite in it. It comes up to her waist here. So let's reposition this just a bit so that she's inside this capsule. Here's the character controller. It has some parameters I'm not interested in the moment, but its height is 2, which is a little tall for this character. It's 2 meters, but I'll leave it for now. But here the center is at x0, y0, z0, and y is the up and down. So I'm going to make this into, it's 2 meters tall, so I'll change this to 1. And so now she's fitting inside the character controller. And the character controller adds collision detection, meaning that when she bumps into things, they should know that they've been bumped into. Yeah. Let's add some other things in this world. I'm going to make a floor or a ground plane. So over here in my hierarchy, I can right click, say create, no, 3D object, just 3D object here, and I'll say a plane. Okay, so this plane, I wonder where my character actually is. Let's see where this plane's position is. I'll roll this up, roll this up. Where is the, here's the plane. Where's its position? She's kind of buried hip deep in the plane. Transform, here we go. The transforms mean like where it is positionally. So its position, yeah, is at not 0 and 0 and 0. So I'm going to change this to 0. I'm just typing the letter 0 in. That's better, except, yeah, that's better. So now you can see it's where her feet would be. I'll move it, or actually I'll just make it bigger so that we have more room to walk on. This will be the ground that we can knock things off of or fall off of ourselves into an eternal void, right? So I'll scale it up. It's set to 1, 1, and 1. Notice that position, the default or whatever the kind of base position is 0, 0, 0. The rotation is 0, 0, 0. Scale for anything is 1, 1, 1 is the base or the default. A thing with 0 width is not visible, right? So X is the width again. Y is the up and down depth of the plane, and that shouldn't change because it's got no thickness, but it has X and Z dimensions, and I can make the X. So this will make it wider in the red arrow, or red, here we go. The red arrow here on the plane, it'll make it wider from side to side, and I change this. And we can just say, I will make it 6, and I'll make this Z like 12. And if I zoom away, you can see it's longer than it is wide, or that's however you want to think of it. And that's good for now. Actually, let's make it a little bit smaller so we can knock things off a little easier. I'll make it, actually I'll make it 1 wide. One that's not a measurement, it's a scale, and I'll make it 2Z. There we go. And we can move it here, and kind of put it under her feet so she's in the middle of it. Okay, let's make some other objects so we can bump into things and test this stuff out. I'm going to, let's see here, let's make a cube or a box. So I'll right click in the hierarchy, 3D object, cube, and I'll pull it up and push it over to the side a bit, and we'll just look, is that beside her? Yeah, you can see beside her. And just for fun, I'm going to rotate it slightly, So there's the rotation gizmo. I get this blue thing, I rotate it. Oh, that's far more than I wanted to. Let's see how much I rotated it. Here's its rotation, 713 degrees. Let's just say 45 degrees, yeah. So now it kind of balances on a corner. All right, and we'll move it a little bit further over to. And let's create a sphere. So right click in the hierarchy, 3D object, sphere. A sphere is a ball, and we'll put it also kind of up in the air. And we're going to add some things to this cube and this sphere. So here's the cube. It has a mesh renderer. It has a cube mesh. It has a box collider. And if I add a component, I want to add one called rigid body. R-I-D-G, rigid. No, maybe it's R-I-G, huh? R-I-G. Rigid body, all one word. And in fact, let's not add it to the sphere. And we'll hit play real quick. So the rigid body makes the cube fall. gravity is affecting the cube, but not affecting the sphere. In fact, we can see this again if we look in the scene view. By default, when I hit play, it goes into the game, but here's the scene, and then we can see the animation is running, but the ball has not fallen, or the cube has fallen. The idle animation is running. That's in the scene view. I'll turn this off. Okay, so let's add the same kind of thing to this sphere. Right click. We don't need to see this right now. We'll add component. Rigid body is still at the top of the list. I'll add that. And now both of these objects will fall. And notice that I had this balance, rotated 45 degrees, just to show that it falls and then it rolls. It has this physics happening to it. We can move this over just a bit here. I'm not sure how far to move it. I'd like it to land, the sphere to land kind of on the edge. Is that possible? Let's see what happens. So it falls off the end of the world. And it just falls into a pit. Okay. So that's one of the things, that's fun to have is gravity, so things can fall, and an edge to the world they can fall off of. This is not like the real world. Yeah. Okay, so I want to make my character move about in the scene next, and I think that might be time for another video.